The June refines are finally here, and this is an interesting batch, so let's just jump straight into it. Now, our first unit we're going to check out is our free-to-play Queen, Brunnya. We have grants res plus 3 at start of combat if penalty is active on unit's HP is less than or equal to 99%, or the foe's HP is greater than or equal to 75%. She has plus 4 to all stats, and she neutralizes her own penalties. And then if she has an ally within 3 spaces, she gets another plus 4 to all stats, and she inflicts attack and res minus X on the foe during combat, where X equals 10 minus the foe's max special cooldown times 2, minimum of 2. And lastly, if she's within 3 spaces of her support partner, she makes a guaranteed follow-up attack. So, I'm gonna be honest, this is a completely crap refine. This is complete and utter garbage. Oh my god, I cannot believe they did Brunnya so dirty. First of all, let's start with the base effect, right? All they really did was make it easier to get the effect, but they didn't change the effect, right? She didn't get more stats, she didn't get an additional effect, it's just 4 stats and neutralized penalties. That's it. That's okay, but man, they should have updated it a little bit. Maybe give it like plus 5 to all stats, plus 6 to all stats, add an additional effect in there, something. Then we go to the actual refine, and all she's getting is plus 4 to all stats, and then she has to inflict a max of minus 8 attack and res on the foe. So she does get a nice amount of stats she can kind of inflict, right? She can kind of a stat ball unit. But then it gets to the guaranteed follow-up attack, and the condition is so trash. You have to be within 3 spaces of only your support partner, not any ally, only your support partner. And all you get is a guaranteed follow-up attack. That's literally it. I mean, this is just not enough, right? Like, Brunnya wants to kind of be like a mage tank, essentially, like a speedy mage tank. And she doesn't have any of the things she really needs for that, right? Penalty neutralization is nice and all, but she needed like damage reduction. She needed a way to secure kills easier, right? 'Cause she doesn't have slaying, so she can't even like get a moonbow off in retaliation. She can't even use like noontime retaliation. She just doesn't have anything. Like, they really did not give her enough to do what she wants. She just essentially has stats and a guaranteed follow-up attack, and that's it. So, unfortunately, I just don't think Brunnya is worth using in her current condition with this refine. I think you're better off waiting for a blue tome, the arcane blue tome, and just going with that, because no matter what it is, it's probably going to be better than this trash. Okay, let's move on to the next refine. And fortunately, Igrene is next, and whew, I love Igrene. So let's start off. She is slaying, effective versus flying. If she initiates combat, or if her speed is greater than the foe's speed minus 7. So that's a nice, generous condition there. But it is at start of combat, so it is the visible speed stat. She gets to inflict attack and speed and defense minus 5 on the foe, and she reduces damage from the foe's first attack by 30%. Then, at start of combat, if her HP is greater than or equal to 25%, she gets plus 4 to all stats. She gets 10% true damage based off her speed, and it works with AoEs. She neutralizes effects that inflict guard, so she's the anti-guard effect, and she gets low speed defense. Whew, this is a solid refine. This is very, very good. She pretty much got almost everything she could have wanted, right? Like, with this unit, you have a very open B slot. She already has anti-guard, which is very important because it's going to make Deadeye much more consistent. She has low speed defense, which means it's going to be easier for her to win those speed checks and to get the damage in as well. So you really have an open B slot where you could run something like Special Spiral 4 if you want, and then run like Ruptured Sky instead of running Deadeye. Or you can go with like a Time Pulse build and run Deadeye, and then you could put something else in the B slot. You could even put the new No Follow-Up into the B slot. I wouldn't really recommend that though. I think having damage reduction is just not nearly as good as having like full piercing damage reduction with something like Deadeye or like Special Spiral 4. The cool thing is that she also has damage reduction, so you don't even need to run Remote Sparrow in her A slot. You can just run like attack speed finish and get even more true damage and healing. So honestly, Igrene got a really nice refine here. I don't think it's going to make her into like a meta nuke by any means, but it definitely pushes her up. So I'm very, very happy with this refine overall. I think Igrene got a great refine, and I just can't wait to see some people take her for a test ride and see how much damage she can really do. Next up is one of the stars of this refine section, Nagi. I think everybody's been waiting for Nagi's refine, and man, does it not disappoint. So we have Slaying, effective versus Dragon, grants weapon triangle advantage versus color foes, and inflicts weapon triangle disadvantage versus color foes. She gets to reduce damage from AoEs by 80%, and at start of combat, if her HP is greater than or equal to 25%, she gets to inflict attack and res minus 5 on the foe, and when she deals damage, she heals 7 HP. Then we jump into the refine, and if the foe initiates combat, or if the foe's HP is greater than or equal to 75%, she gets to inflict another attack and res minus 5 on the foe. She neutralizes her own penalties to defense and resistance during combat, and also if her res is greater than foe's res, she gains Dragon Wall. This is a really, really solid refine for a save unit. Essentially what this means is that she has a lot of the effects she already wants as a save unit, right? She has the healing, she has a ton of stats, she's pretty much AoE proof in a lot of situations, she can neutralize penalties to the most important stats for her, which are defense and resistance, and she gets Dragon Wall, which is really, really big. Because a lot of times as a dragon unit, you have to decide between running Dragon Wall or running a fighter skill. And fighter skills are really strong, but so is Dragon Wall, because it not only helps you against AoEs, but it just gives you more damage reduction that is consistent. So the thing is with Nagi is that she gets the best of both worlds. She can run that hardy fighter skill and get Dragon Wall, which is really, really good. And then all you have to do is run like something like a Stance 4 skill in her A slot, and what that will do is give her the guard she really wants as well. And then if you want her to actually counterattack, right, if you're not using her in summer duels and you want her to kill things, right, you put distant counter in her seal slot because she's a dragon. So honestly, I think Nagi just got a fantastic refine. I think she's going to be great in E3's offense, and she could even be used in summer duels now. Now, the one thing I want to bring up, because I think this is a big deal, is that she is green. And right now, green is easily the weakest color in the meta because red is just so ridiculously strong. We just got like Legendary Hinoka, who is an armor effective red nuke, and we already had Duo Chrom since last year, who is the same thing, right? So I do think Naga has some weaknesses she's gonna have to struggle with, right? There's gonna be a lot of meta matchups she can struggle with. But overall, I think this refine just made her a much more powerful option for a save unit, and she's gonna have a really big niche now against colorless units and those units trying to do those AoEs. If you are a Nagi believer and you've been investing her since she came out, I think you really did get a great refine here, and you should absolutely make use of her. Now let's move on to our other save unit, Rudolf. Now I know a lot of people did redeem that Forma Soul for Rudolf, and I think you actually got a good deal here. So we have Slaying, we have if units HP is greater than 25%, or if units attack is less than Rudolf's attack. He inflicts attack and defense -6 on the foe during combat, they can't make a follow-up attack, and he reduces damage from attacks, not AoEs though, by a percentage equal to units attack minus foe's attack during combat ×2, minimum 0%, max 40%. And then if the foe initiates combat or their HP is greater than or equal to 75%, he gets another attack and defense -5 on them, he inflicts attack -X on foe, and he gives himself attack +X during combat, and then he restores 7 HP after combat. So overall, what are we getting? We're getting a giant attack debuff essentially, and if you've known anything about past refines or like current meta save units, anytime you can inflict a giant attack penalty, you're in a great situation because it just completely like reduces the amount of damage they're taking from nukes because so many of them are reliant on attack, right? And when it comes to Rudolf, he can get an absolutely massive attack penalty on the foe. He can easily get like -23 attack on the foe, which is kind of absurd when you think about it. And the great thing about that is it's very synergistic with the rest of his abilities because his damage reduction will also be based off that attack check, and he'll also be able to give himself a massive +12 to attack typically if he himself has +6 to all stats or one of the allies within 2 spaces. And then he even gets some nice healing, and he still has that follow-up denial. So what does this mean? It means that Rudolf can be an absolutely fantastic save unit, and I think he can do the job of a far save or a near save. Because like I was just mentioning, red is extremely meta right now, so having a blue save is a great option right now. The cool thing is I think Rudolf is also extremely flexible, so you can kind of run him in lots of different ways. You can go for like a distant counter build and try to secure those kills because he does have a massive attack stat. You could go for like an armored beacon build, or you can go for the hardy fighter build, and he'll do that extremely well also. I'm very glad to see that a Forma unit actually got an amazing refine, and for all those free-to-play players who picked him up back in the day to get those safe skills, I think you're going to have a great unit on your hands that you can use either in E3's defense, offense, or even summoner duels to an extent. Now, let's move on to the final refine of the batch, and it is our 4-star unit, Tanya. So we have Valdrake Bow, effective against flying. At start of combat, if her HP is greater than or equal to 25%, she has +4 to all stats during combat. She gets true damage equal to 10% of her speed, including AoEs, and she gets adaptive damage. Now, at start of combat, if the foe's HP is greater than 75%, or if there's a penalty active on the foe, she gets another +4 to all stats, and she inflicts attack, speed, defense, and resistance -X on the foe during combat, where X is the current penalty on each of those stats. So overall, this is a pretty solid refine. It's much better than I thought she would get. I thought that if anyone got done dirty this batch, it would be Tanya, but in fact, it was Brunnya. So anyway, we're getting +8 to all stats, which is nice because she has a very low attack stat, so getting that attack stat up as high as possible is always good. True damage helps as well because she actually does have a solid speed stat. And adaptive damage. Now, adaptive damage is a big deal. We do have attack speed Hexblade, so it's not like unheard of now. She did have the option of getting that through her A skill, but now she doesn't have to do that. So that means she can run something like attack speed finish and get extra true damage as well, which is always a big win. Now, the things that do hold Tanya back, in my opinion, is first of all, she is trying to play like a penalty kind of role where she wants to take advantage of the unit's penalties, but in no way does she provide the penalties, right? So what that means is that you're going to need like an ally who can provide those penalties. Someone like Legendary Robin or like Gunthra or something, anything like that is going to help a ton. But we've seen how powerful this can be, right? We've seen this in Sabotage where you kind of like just double the penalty on a foe, and it lets you be really powerful because it not only lets you get a ton more attack and speed, but it also gives you more effective like HP by giving you more defense and resistance effectively, right? So it lets her actually be more tanky. Now, the other big things that are going to hold her back is that she doesn't have slaying, which means that it's going to be very inconsistent when it comes to her specials, right? She's not going to be the best user of Deadeye. You can try to get Special Spiral 4 on her, which will be a little bit more consistent, and then you can give her Times Pulse, so you can run Temperature Sky and have a much more consistent special that pierces damage reduction. But overall, I do think that she's going to be held back by a few of those things. And then obviously, you're going to want to give her no follow-up support from some kind of ally. If you are a big Tanya fan, I think this is a decent refine. You can definitely make use of it. You're going to need to invest into her in quite a bit, but I think if you do, you'll have a pretty solid Nuke on your hands. Okay, let's answer the final question. Who got the best refine of June? And when we look at the tier list, I think Nagi just comes out on top. She got a lot of nice synergies in her kit that really work well with all the things armors want to do, right? She has the healing, she has the Dragon Wall, and she can run Hardy Fighter, so it's just a ton of defensive options. Like I said, the only thing holding her back is her color. But other than that, I think she's going to be really, really good. And she's going to have a really unique niche where she's strong against AoEs and colorless units. So I think she's going to be a fantastic save unit to invest into for the future. And the same can be said for Rudolf. Rudolf definitely can be stronger than Nagi in certain situations. Being able to deny follow-ups and just being able to put a massive debuff on their attack can make it so that their specials do a lot less damage, and also make it so that Rudolf can just absorb hits with something like Hardy Fighter. So I do think Rudolf is a great unit, and he's going to fit well into near save or far save, which is always where you want to be as a save unit. Also in S tier, we're going to have Igrene, and Igrene just like, oof, she got such a good refine. She got pretty much all the effects that Nuke really wants, and so it makes her very versatile in her different types of builds, and it also makes her much more consistent, which is always what you want from your nukes. Down in B tier, we have Tanya. Once again, great refine, just missing some of the base effects she really wants, and her attack stat is a bit low, but the refine definitely helps out a ton with the adaptive damage and the penalty doubler. Just make sure you team her up with a unit who can provide those penalties. And then lastly, all the way down in C tier, we have Brunnya. I think Brunnya just got done completely dirty. I think this refine just doesn't really do much for her. It doesn't really like make her stronger in her role as a mage tank. Well, at least not enough to really compete in today's meta. And I honestly think you might be better off running the blue arcane tome, depending on what it does. But now I'd love to hear from you guys. Which refine is your favorite of this batch? Do you think I got any of these wrong? Do you think any of these units are better than I'm saying? Or are you just happy that one of your favorite units actually got a great refine? Make sure to drop a comment down below letting me know. And once again, I'd like to thank all my members for their constant support. And if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. This has been Oblivion. I'll catch you all later.